Arrows, my championship rival from last season, Pierre Gasly, has jumped ship from Red Bull and has gone to Racing Point for some reason. I don't know, but Racing Point weren't really a top team last season. Maybe he knows something that I don't and he's moved there for a reason, but Lance Stroll has moved the other way then and has gone to Red Bull, which is a bit of a kind of funny thing actually, because of course in the game, Aston Martin sponsor Red Bull in the F1 2019 game, and of course Lance Stroll will be driving an Aston Martin in 2021 off that announcement that came out in real life Formula 1. So funny how that kind of works out there. But those are the driver transfers, only a few for this season unfortunately there, but enough to maybe keep it a little bit fresh. And as you can see now on the R&D chart, we've got some major developments here. Williams Racing have become the best car on the grid on paper, so that's going to be Sebastian Vettel and Kevin Magnussen with the best car on the grid technically. My old team Mercedes, I did plenty of work for them, so they can thank me. They're right there with Williams, second place there. Then comes McLaren, Alfa Romeo, Renault. Then you've got the likes of Red Bull, Racing Point, Toro Rosso, Haas, and then obviously ourselves very much so at the bottom there with a lot of work and catching up to do compared to the top teams. In terms of the R&D then for Ferrari, the chassis side of things was completely finished off by the team, so that's good. So at least we'll have a nice lightweight car in the corners hopefully, and also tyre well will not be much of an issue. But you can see there we've got quite a fair bit of this tree left to kind of complete now on the engine side and the aero. Kind of I would say the same amount for engine and aero, but remember on this game I feel like the engine plays a massive part, so I think that's where we'll be developing the car the most early on this season. We've got some ultimate and major upgrades to potentially do, and also some cheaper minor ones as well. The team have kind of tactically chosen the kind of big ones over the winter period on that reset, so that's good news for us. So the AI team of Ferrari did quite well to try and hold on to their performance over season 4 to 5. I say hold on to performance, they were the worst team on the grid for majority of last season, so they didn't have much to hold on to, but they've held on to as much as they could do on the chart. You can see though, looking a little bit closer at the R&D chart in terms of the scaling of the chart compared to last season especially, the actual gulf that we've got from the bottom to the next best team, which is Haas, is actually a lot smaller than it was with Mercedes to the next best team at the time in terms of that jump to the midfield. We had to make with Mercedes last season, that took a fair few races, whereas maybe in 2-3 would already be ahead of Haas and we're kind of in that mid-pack, whereas last season there was this massive gulf to the midfield, whereas now you can clearly see every team pretty much is like a nice little ladder basically, and there's just a small little divide between each team. So the field spread, if anything, has got somehow even closer at the beginning of this season than it was at the start of last season, which is crazy to think, and might mean that even though we are the worst team, we might only be, 2-3 tenths away. Like the entire grid might be completely covered by 1 second, which is going to be mega exciting and very close indeed. But it still means we have a lot of work to do. The efficiency of the departments of this team is not very good compared to Mercedes and kind of Toro Rosso like we've experienced in the previous season. So that will be a bit of an issue for us. So it will take a little bit of time maybe to do upgrades compared to how quick it was in Mercedes. So that will be the big challenge here. It's all going to be very new to me in terms of the handling as well. Or the Ferrari versus Mercedes is definitely a little bit different. So that'll be all to take and getting used to. But raring to go for this brand new season of F1 2019 career mode. Let's get into this then. Let's go to qualifying and see how we do over one lap at the Australian Grand Prix.
We're just about ready to kick off today's qualifying here in Melbourne. It's the Australian Grand Prix. I want to talk briefly about the strategy in these qualifying sessions. Anthony Davidson, how can a driver adjust their approach to gain those critical extra tenths of a second?
Well, qualifying isn't about adjusting your approach necessarily, it's more about trying to repeat a low fuel run that you've practiced prior to this session. You're looking for perfection on the lap, and that's hard to achieve if you're trying something new. There are some variables that can stand in your way, however. Track position or unexpected yellow flags, for example. Coupled with ever-changing track conditions, it's important to be out there at the right moment. But as a driver, you have to try and ignore these distractions and just keep your mind focused on that one perfect lap.
Okay, I know you're eager to get out there, but I'm going to need you to be patient for a few minutes. We're just trying to zero in on an oil leak.
Alright, so here we are then in Q1, and we're straight away met with an issue with the car. We have to sit in the garage for 4 minutes. Of course, it had to happen with this team, with Ferrari. It was always bound to happen. Lubrication system fault. And so we are sat here for 4 minutes. Crucial time, potentially, because this car is maybe going to struggle to get through to Q2. I don't know. I hope not, but it might do, and that's just time wasted that we didn't need to waste, basically. So here we go, finally sitting through those 4 minutes and going through on track, and now getting used to this brand new matte red car of ours compared to the shiny silver Arrow I was driving last season. There definitely, I can feel the difference in downforce for sure in terms of the aero being reset. The turning isn't as sharp, and I think you'll notice that around the lap, as you can see, just a bit of understeer here and there through turns 1 and all the last corner as well. And that's a combo of the car itself, of the Ferrari, and also the aero being reset. Obviously, I was so used to a maxed out aero chart last season, so definitely going to take some adapting to. But that first line lap wasn't really that great. We're P17 here, just behind George Russell though in P16, so you can maybe say that's where the car is. I kind of hope not, but you can see I've gained about maybe 1/10 there. Going to maybe hopefully gain a little bit more as we get a better exit off that right-hander to the next break, so a little bit more aggressive on the curb there, a little bit deeper into the corner, but we carry more speed actually, so ironically it actually works out better, even though it looked like I made a mistake there. And so we gained 1 more 10 then through the last sector there, trying to gain up to about 3/10 if we can on this second fly. This is our last flyer as well, because we've got 4 minutes to go. Won't have enough time to go back in the garage and then send myself back out again. At the moment there, my old car of Ricardo, obviously Ricardo replaced me, is on a provisional P1 and Q1. Across the line for us, it's P14 there, so we would make it through. Would, or emphasis on would, because as we go through to the end of the session, of course, other people were bound to set lap times because there was 4 minutes left. And in the end, both us Ferrari cars are knocked out in Q1. George Russell finishes up in P16. I actually end up back in P17 then. And George Russell, the first time I'm asking, does beat me, just by a fraction, but does beat me. So that might mean something psychologically for him. But the real issue is both cars are out of Q1. So I said we were the slowest car on the grid. We've beaten the Haas car, so actually on paper maybe we're a little bit faster than the Haas, but we're still not Q2 material. And we're talking about Ferrari here, a team that usually aims for nothing but Q3 and nothing but podiums and wins, and we can't even make it through the first time, the first session of qualifying. So yeah, we're not exactly where we want to be as a team, as a driver. We've got a lot of work to do. The race, I'm not too sure. Hopefully the race pace will be a little bit better. Generally it is at Australia for sure. Qualifying is very, very tricky in Australia. The AI are very good over 1 lap and very consistent there. So maybe we'll have a greater chance of maybe scrounging 1 or 2 measly points. That's the hope for tomorrow. Let's go to the grid and see how we do.
They say that even a second is an eternity in Formula One, so going 4 winter months with no racing at all has seemed a very long time indeed. We're back though in Melbourne, home of the Australian Grand Prix since 1996. The Melbourne circuit is certainly one that needs to be taken seriously. Its combination of slippery surfaces and difficult corners make it a tricky track when it comes to overtakes. Drivers find it hard to pass and will need to take full advantage of those DRS zones if they want to have any hope of breaking through. I'm joined today in the commentary box, as I will be throughout this season, by a great racing driver, former F1 competitor, former world champion, and as he tells me all too often, an all-round top chap. It's the one and only Anthony Davidson. And tell me, here we are, first Grand Prix of the season, first time racing these cars. What are the big questions that need to be answered here, in your view?
Oh, thanks, Crofty. It's a real privilege to be here, and I can't wait to see what's in store for us this season. Now, to answer your question, one of the biggest things is reliability. Formula One cars are full of very sophisticated but also very sensitive technology, and this first Grand Prix of the season is going to push them to the limits. So the most important thing today is to stay out of trouble, get to the end of the race and keep everything in good condition.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Pierre Gasly lines up on pole position, with Daniel Ricciardo slotting in alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Hamilton, Hülkenberg, Sebastian Vettel and Kvyat, Leclerc, Verstappen, Magnussen and Devon Butler, Perez, Weber, Lando Norris and Raikkonen, Stroll, Russell, the engineer and Valtteri Bottas, Grosjean and Antonio Giovinazzi starts from the back of the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Alright, so here we are then on the grid in P17 in our Ferrari. Definitely not a sentence I thought I'd be saying at the very start of this career mode back in June, but here we are then, Season 5, things are dealt very weirdly in this world of Formula 1 in our career mode save. Pierre Gasly on pole position in the Racing Point car. So I said maybe he knew something about jumping ship from Red Bull to Racing Point. Clearly, they're actually a dark horse because they're not very high up on the R&D chart, but looks like they've got some mega pace in Q3 there. So my old championship rival is probably chuckling at the moment because he's still at the forefront, and even though I beat him last season for the championship, I'm way at the back now, so he's probably pretty happy as it stands there. So we've got a lot of work to do this season and a lot of work to do this race to maybe try and get something out of it. It's going to be a one-stop because, of course, everyone is going to have that good tyre wear upgrades from the chassis side of things. That did not get reset for this season, so a one-stop onto potentially a set of hard tyres, but the mediums are an option if we have good enough stint on the first stint on the soft tyre. So we'll kind of play about here, see if we're in clean air maybe, then we can maybe try our hand at the medium tyre stint. I don't know what the engine's going to be like in terms of the fuel. Last season I was able to get away with 0.5 laps of extra fuel, and that was enough for the entire race. I'm not too sure if this engine now will be thirstier than my last car in career mode, so I'm going to just play it safe and have 1 lap of fuel, and if we need to adjust that next race, we will do. Without further ado then, let's get into this then and begin Season 5 of our F1 2019 career mode as we go to 5 red lights for the Australian Grand Prix from P17 on the grid. We're underway. It's a good start compared to Kimi Raikkonen, at least on the right-hand side. Russell tries to get in the middle there. We're going to try and fend off the inside line of the Toro Rosso Bottas. They have a little look down the inside of our teammate Russell, but in the end doesn't come to anything, so it's still P17, so at least we haven't lost a position there, but we didn't really gain too much. Russell parking the car very awkwardly on the right, so we're going to go to the left-hand side, and that actually opens up some space, funny enough there, because Stroll, for some reason, just gets out of my way there. I think he tried to maybe try something with Raikkonen, and in the end just allows me through, so a bit of oversteer there as we go through the next right-hander, and again, a big snap of oversteer, so the car very unstable, it would seem, on higher fuel there, which in the past has been a kind of Ferrari thing of the car feeling a little bit odd, either on high fuel or low fuel in past seasons, so hopefully the car is going to get better and not worse as we go on to lower fuel base. Even a good start for us then in that first sector, really, to try and catch Stroll napping, and now I'm going to try and get on the back of my very first teammate in this career mode, Kimi Raikkonen, in the Alfa Romeos. Going to be disappointed because the Alfa seems quite fast on the R&D chart, so I don't know why he's really down here in P14. But as we swing through the final corner of the first lap of this season and the race, Raikkonen right on the back of Lucas Weber then in the Renault. You can see the fuel spread is very small and tiny as we can see the leaders up ahead going through turn 1. Raikkonen tries a little look on the right hand side, doesn't work out, and in the end probably compromises his line out of turn 1 and 2. So can we make a move now? Where is he going to go again? Like Russell, parks it very awkwardly to the middle of the circuit, so in the end I just have to go around the outside. It works out for us. We squeeze through there, just about enough space to work with the grass on the left hand side, and we're up into P14. So that place, that overtake specifically, is actually becoming a kind of favourite of mine, it would seem, in this race. Twice done, and can we maybe do it a third time potential? Weber, as Weber gets a snap of oversteer, and we overtake him in a blink of an eye there, as the German has a major issue with the rear end of that Renault there. It stepped out. I haven't seen an AI make a mistake like that ever in the game there, but that was actually very, very cool to see. So we're up into P13 then, so I was effectively a free position because he just made a mistake there, but I'll take it. And now we move on to lap number 3, and we're looking at the back of Lando Norris here, who's fighting his teammate Sergio Perez very harshly indeed. That's lost them both time to the point where now I can send one down the inside. A little bit of contact made there on the front left, so I will admit that was a bit overly aggressive from me down the inside, but needs must when you're in a slow car like this. That definitely feels like a bit of a donkey compared to a prancing horse, to be honest, but we make the move, and now we're in a McLaren sandwich here. Sergio Perez on the back of the Williams of Kevin Magnussen, who is another car who will be disappointed of where he is, because of course the Williams, well, it's meant to be the fastest car. I think Sebastian Vettel qualified around P5, with Magnussen down here in the lower top 10, and also now he's just been overtaken by the Mexican, so can we try and get him and embarrass him some more as we go through on the inside this time here to this corner. DRS open, down the inside we go, squeeze him out on the exit, and that's a pretty easy pass up into P11, no issue for us. So we're now one place off the points here, but we've already done so much fighting just to get here, and also now you can see on the mini-map the gap to the leaders is growing ever more as we now move on to lap number 5, closing up to Devin Butler, who's been overtaken by Sergio Perez, but we've got a company here down the inside as Magnussen sends a massive dive there, and really impressed with that. I completely got caught off guard there, didn't expect him to do that there, so the AI feeling very punchy, it would seem, at this Australian Grand Prix, but we're able to deal with there down the inside of the next left-hander and keep the P11, and Sergio Perez really on a charge there, so we're trying to follow him through as best I can, but Butler a little bit further away. Purple second sector though, but look at that, Butler comes back at Sergio Perez, so this is great scrapping between the AI there. They're neck and neck now on the exit. That's going to allow us in, going to get the toe off Perez. then Butler get the double slipstream. Down the inside we go then of our former F2 rival, going to squeeze him out, no love lost, and we're up into P9. A little bit of contact there, but we got the job done, and so that's 2 places in 1 corner. Really great work there, opportunistic from us. And so now we have some clean air to work with. Can we try and chase after Hulkenberg? Let's see. It might be wishful thinking because his teammate Pierre Gasly, well, wow, he is absolutely dominating this Australian Grand Prix in P1. Then second place is Ricciardo, but for how much longer? Because Hamilton sends one down the inside. The 2 Mercs go hammer and tong now into turn 1. Obviously, the home favourite Ricciardo wants to keep his P2. Hamilton, though, my former teammate from last season, on the right-hand side, might be even 3 wide as the Alfa Romeo. Oh, I think Kvyat there gets involved. It's Vettel in the Williams, then round the outside, the Russian there. So Vettel up into P4. The 2 Mercs are still side by side. One of them has to give. I think it's Ricciardo. Yes, it is. And so Hamilton is up into P2, and he's still, oh, look at that. Ricciardo's still trying it. So massive action here at the forefront. They're all basically nose to tail. The Toros of Leclerc and also Verstappen's Renault close behind. Then you've got Hulkenberg there, and then you can see there is myself just about staying ahead of Sergio Perez. Then you can see literally Perez looks like he was pushing me through that right-hander, and so as we move through on towards lap number 9, we are all as a train gaining on the train ahead. So even though Perez is pressurizing me, we're all gaining on Hulkenberg there, but you can see having to do a lot of defensive work, moving a little bit, funnily enough, into turn 1. That was probably on the edge of okay in terms of moving under braking there, but now we allow Norris to go side by side. So if the 2 McLarens want to fight as much as they want behind me, that's fine by me because that will help me out there. But you can see the amount of fighting that's going on ahead of us means that everyone's just basically bunching up, which is great for us, great for everyone really in terms of the race, because we've got plenty to go, still about 2/3 of the race left here, but we've got a lock up there by Ricciardo, so we move back to the action at the forefront here. Hamilton's got a gap there in P2, but can Sebastian Vettel nab the P3 in the new improved Williams car for Season 5? Round the outside he goes, Kvyat also sniffing around, but there goes number 5, overtaking number 3, and he's up into P3 as well, so the Williams flying a lot higher than it ever did last season. We now move to lap number 10 onto 11. We've got a few people finally making their first pit stop. My engineer has asked me, do I want to change the strategy? I'm thinking we stay out as long as we can, basically. Overtake Hulkenberg, because I'm within DRS, so I kind of also fancy overtaking him, and then let's go on to a set of medium tyres. It seems like a lot of people are doing mediums. The tyre wear levels are good enough. I think we should, even though the engineer did recommend hards. I think the Ferrari should be able to do the medium tyre strategy. I'll kind of see what Russell does as well on this lap, basically, because I think he's pitting this lap, or potentially the one just before. So here we go, though. I wanted to overtake Hulkenberg. We are going to do just that as we come through the final corner, then DRS open, overtake mode on the ERS there. We've been playing around with fuel and standing rich. The engine has been overheating quite a fair bit in the traffic and the dirt here, so have to watch out for that. But we're in rich mix right now as we're now level with Hulkenberg just about on the exit. He gets it back. Going to have to re-get in the slipstream basically and pull through again on the left now. I'm going to make that famous pass we've made twice now in this race, the long way round on that right-hander, and we're up into P1 now because everyone else ahead of us has made their pit stop. So savour this, lads, because this might be the first time and the only time in a long time in this career mode series right now that we lead a Grand Prix, because I don't think we're going to be winning races anytime soon. So let's treasure being in P1 for now. But at the very end of the lap we come in then along with Hulkenberg and also McLaren. I can't quite tell which one it is, but we're now in for that pit stop, and like I said, we're onto a set of medium yellow wall tyres there, and that should easily get to the end. We just get ahead of the Alfa Romeo there, the pit crew with a pretty damn fast lap time. Of course, my contract perk of the pit stop time is the best I can get, because of course I was joining a bottom team having won the championship, so I could ask for the best perks on my contract with Ferrari there for the game. So good fast pit stops there, so we get ahead of the Williams, of Magnussen and one of the McLarens here. But out of the pit lane, of course, the tyres are a little bit cold, and Magnussen, like he was earlier on, feeling a little bit punchy there. Around the outside he goes. He actually gets a really good mid-apex speed there to go alongside me, and we have to really work for it to keep the position of P8 there through the right-hander, but we just about get it with a screen freeze for good measure as well, unfortunately, on lap number 13. And then we also get tagged a little bit by Magnussen on the left there, so K-Man getting very aggressive, as he is in real life indeed, but we're going to hold that through and try and settle down for this position and try and just solidify this and try and push on, maybe, if that is a possibility, perhaps. But what seems more likely is one of the McLarens attacking us, but instead it's actually going to be McLaren on McLaren as Norris swings from the right to the left there with a massive darting dive to the inside there, and it's a fantastic move there on the outside, the high-speed chicane. Such a weird place to make a pass, especially on your teammate with the same machinery there. But Norris feeling feisty and wanting to get on with it rather than Sergio Perez maybe just sitting there behind me. So perhaps Norris is going to come charging at us now. So that might be a little bit worrying actually, because it looks like he's already building a gap to Perez. So he definitely seems like the faster McLaren of the two right now as it stands on this set of medium tyres. And here comes Lando Norris lurking. And as we look behind us, we kind of compromise our line there. Went a little bit too deep on the left hand of the first part of the chicane, and so that's really hurt us down the entire back straight. Norris around the outside, under braking, gets us and pinches us into the apex there. Very aggressive, but it's fine by me in terms of I'm not going to complain about it. He's done a fabulous overtake there, just really couldn't defend. I had a half-assed attempt at defending that, and he's got the place and he's actually pushed away. I mean, look how quick he is off that corner there. I know we're on high ERS, so that might be a difference, and also not rich mix for now, but he's really bolted away already, and so we've got DRS from him, and that's just about going to help us survive against Sergio Perez. I'm hoping we have the measure of the Perez, because he seemed a little bit slow compared to Norris, so at least we can maybe hold one McLaren at bay. We've got 12 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and we're still in the points-paying positions, so I'd like to kind of finish here. You know, I know it's only 2 points, but really, to be honest, in this car, trust me, the feeling in the car, 2 points is pretty damn good here at the Australian Grand Prix. And you can see here as we go through the last corner, getting all out of shape here with the oversteer. So this car is really not feeling too amazing at the moment here for me. And Perez is going to try his luck at overtaking me. We're going to have to try and attack him through turns 1 and 2 to re-overtake him potentially without DRS though. And Perez also blocks us off on the exits. That's going to be doubly difficult then for us to make the move. And also to add to that, Magnussen, look at that on the left-hand side, tries to dive there. So once again, the Dane very confident on the brakes there at that specific corner, tries it, but we're going to hold it through for P10. But Perez has overtaken us, so that might be both McLaren's passes. Let's try and see if we can at least keep up with Perez, because he definitely seemed a little bit slower than Norris, and we will do as we move on later onto lap 20 on the back straight with DRS open here. Can we make the dive down the inside? It's going to be a little bit close as we get very close to the grass there and get a little bit wayward on the rear end. Bit of oversteer on the exit for good measure, but we get the job done down the inside. Going to go out wide on purpose to kind of scrub off the line there and make sure Perez has to yield. And so we're back up into P9 for those two crucial championship points. I don't know, you never know, at the very end of the season 2 points might mean a lot to us, so let's try and hang on to it. Meanwhile, here is the fight at the front then. So you've got Danica Fiat here in 3rd place in the Alfa Romeo, so he's done a madness and jumped everyone somehow. Sebastian Vettel in P4 then, but not for too long, because now this is Verstappen. In the Renault, even despite the double lock-up there, around the outside to the inside for the next left there, and gets the job done just after Sector 1 on Sebastian Vettel, and so Verstappen up into P4. But yeah, the Alfa's done amazingly there in P3, and a little bit further back, he was in P3, but now Ricciardo's really struggling in his home GP. He's now overtaken, or is being overtaken by Leclerc in the Toro Rosso. And right behind, look who it is, Lando Norris. He shot off like a bullet after he overtook me, and this is where he is now. He's making a double pass down the inside. Fantastic dive from so far back, and he will get that place on Leclerc. He'll finish off the move on the next left and get the job done. 2 overtakes in 1, and just like I did earlier on the race, but you can clearly see I probably had no chance of defending against Norris, because look how quick he is. He's now up into, I think that's P5 or P6. So, yeah, he had a lot of pace compared to Perez here. But speaking of the Mexican, we're going to try our best to hold him at bay. We've now got what will be 4 laps left in this Grand Prix. You can see here, I've set a personal best lap time. And despite doing that, Perez is still right at my heels here. So he was really keeping me honest. And this is a massive fight to just keep P9 here. So Perez, again, tries his luck on the right-hand side. Not going to work out, though, and will maintain that. But for how much longer? Can we keep this going all the way to the end of the race? That's the question, really. And whatever issue Ricciardo has, will that maybe mean he falls back towards us? That might be quite awkward if the two drivers that have swapped car positions find each other on track. We'll have to find out later. But now we go back to the front fight, and now Verstappen, having overtaken the Williams car, has now chased off the Alfa and overtaken him. Probably only a matter of time, because I think the Renault has generally better race pace there. Verstappen obviously is a little bit better than Danica Fiat, a lot better than Danica Fiat, so he's up into P3 then. And so at the moment as it stands, the running order, if you forgot, is Pierre Gasly in P1, Hamilton P2, and then Verstappen up into P3. But back to our POV then, we move towards the final lap of the Grand Prix then. We've got Perez chasing after us, and also potentially in the background also Valtteri Bottas saving up ERS on that last sector. So now we're back up into hot lap and overtake mode to try and counteract Perez's GRS, but here he comes in a rate to knots. We go a little bit defensive to squeeze him to the right there. We hold it through on the outside into turn one. Probably a mistake though, because that slows us both down, and that's going to allow Bottas to come out of nowhere to maybe make it nearly 3 wide. McLaren, Ferrari, Toro Rosso, we go very deep indeed in the middle of those two. Somehow keep it on the black stuff. We get a massive tank slapper though. For some reason I think the power went down on the curb there, but somehow we've held it through and managed to survive that. And actually Sergio Perez has been finessed by Bottas, and Bottas has got the overtake done up into P10. So on the last lap Perez has lost any points really in this race. But you can see here on the kind of general gist of things, it's all really bunched up quite a lot, and George Russell, my teammate, is only 3-4 positions behind me, whereas earlier on the race he was miles back there. So he's really gained quite a fair bit, and that's how slow I've kind of been in this second phase of the GP and how much faster he's been. But there you go then, crossing the line on that lap then. Pierre Gasly, absolutely dominant display for the win at the Australian Grand Prix. Hamilton in second and Verstappen in third. So I may have beaten him in the championship last season, but he's got the first laugh of season 5 of the F1 2019 career mode. We move through back to our POV. Norris sets the Vos up the Grand Prix, so kudos to him. Absolute stonking drive, to be honest, there from our fellow Brit. But we move through the final corner then. It's been a very tough race, and we've had to fight very hard for 2 measly points in the World Championship, but that may mean a lot. So later down the line there, we'll definitely take it.
Great drive, great drive. We're really happy with that performance.
A victory for Racing Point, and the team will certainly be celebrating tonight. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
Well, I know it's a bit of a boring answer, but the truth is they simply had the best speed package on the day, and a driver who knows how to take advantage of that. It doesn't matter how much time you spend poring over the stats and planning strategies if you can't keep the pace, and our winner today showed they could do both.
Racing Point's performance today has shown that they can be competitive with the veterans of the sport. They're making their way out.
Go get a plastic surgeon, go get a chiropractor, go get a dentist, go get a gym.
Out to the podium now as we speak, and the reaction from the crowd must be incredibly uplifting for them.
So you can see what I mean by everything being mega close, especially for us in the kind of, I guess you could say, midfield, even though it doesn't really feel like there's a top end or a midfield in this season, or it has been for the last few seasons. But you can see there's like only 2 seconds between myself and George Russell, and that was 5 positions there, the difference between 2 points and no points. So it's going to be mega close, I think, every race for us to just get these few little points until obviously we improve the car a fair bit. So, you know, it's a shame for Russell there, but that's nothing to be disheartened by, and it was all very tight. So, you know, you just get, you get held up by traffic for 1 lap. That's probably going to ruin your entire race really if it's that close. And you can see the top end also, Hamilton, although he didn't really take the fight to Gasly, it's still pretty close there, with only a couple of seconds. So it's not like Gasly's going to run away with this thing, hopefully. And I think the pattern may be very much like it was last season, where so many people are winning different races that it takes points off each other. So I think if we can just be yet again consistent and try and improve the car and just limit the damage basically of not trying to lose too many points to the leaders right now, we could make a late championship charge. But I mean, it's so early on, it's a little bit too early to be talking about the championship, to be honest. So let's just go with the positives. We got some points, the car felt a little bit better in the race than it did in quality, to be honest, but also at times the lack of power was very evident. So that's definitely where we're going to improve the car onto next race and for this first part of the season. So I thought about maybe purchasing or wanting to purchase the ultimate upgrade. We don't actually have enough resource points to afford that right now. So unlike last season, we're actually going to have to wait a whole episode more to purchase a major upgrade here. Instead, I'm going to go for a minor upgrade on the engine power, that very first one, because it's very cheap. And I think and hope, fingers crossed, that next race I'll still have enough points earned over that race and have left over right now that by the end of Bahrain's episode I should be able to afford that ultimate engine upgrade, hopefully. If not, then that's a little bit annoying and my maths has been correct there, but that's the plan and hope. But we're definitely focusing on engine power first in the first part of this season because it's so important on this year's game. The AI especially are so overpowered when it comes to straight line speed, sometimes it feels like, so we definitely need all the engine power we can get, because I felt it mid-corner. The acceleration in this car was really great. Off every corner, I was able to close up, but then when in the third and fourth gear, when you want that engine power kicking in, it just didn't do it. So we need to focus on that. The aero was okay. I can always run higher wings and compromise myself that way. So that's my thinking there in terms of the car. But let me know what you guys think in terms of where I should be upgrading the car, where you felt I was lacking there. But if you guys did enjoy that first episode, a mega fight for 2 points there in a Ferrari, which is definitely not meant to be, but here you go. That's the beauty of the F1 game. Then be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you are new around here to try for weekly full-on content, I've been Ava. I'm sure today. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
A broken website isn't always that obvious. Use the SEMrush site audit tool to scan your website for all kinds of issues, from surf
Hello everyone, and welcome back for another mod review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Dairy Factory by the Snake. The file size is 35.2 megabytes. Today's mod is going to be tested out on the Michigan map. What I'm going to do is explain a few things regarding this factory, go over the shop, check out some of the specs, then I will set a few things up and show you just how this works. So, let's take a look. Okay folks, now that I got a few things set up, once again this is the Dairy Factory by the Snake. Don't forget you'll need the global company mod for these factories to work, linked in the description down below. The file size is 35.2 megabytes. Price in the shop to purchase the factory is $300,000 with a $50 a day maintenance fee. And you will need 5 different resources to get this up and running: sugar, salt, milk, pallets, and curtains. So the sugar, the salt, and the pallets and the curtains I reviewed already. Just look at my previous mod reviews and you will find them. It will hold 16,000 liters of each, except the milk will hold 250,000 liters. Now if I have one small complaint, it's only a tiny one, maybe you could up the capacity of the 16,000 liters. The factory basically runs out of product before a full day goes by. When you put the Snake's other pallets in here, it basically only takes 1 pallet of each. So I think he meant to put it at 160,000. That's what I would move it to. But if not, it's easily changeable in your XML file. So you're going to output 3 different resources. You're going to get butter, ice cream, and cheese. Production time of this factory is 1,000 liters an hour, and the capacity is 40,000 liters of each product. So with that being said, let's go over to the shop, under Placeables, under Global Company. There's our dairy products right there. Like I said, 300,000, and it's quite a big placeable. You'll need a nice flat spot to put this down. We'll have to access 2 or 3 sides of this, so find a nice spot there, put that down. And then we'll come down and take a look at the factory itself. Very good detail in this. 50 vehicles around the building. Oak Farms Dairy. Displays on the side. Pick up 2 new products. Another one there. Love all the detail in these factories. Looks fantastic. So there's the bulk of where you're going to drop off your inputs. Salt, sugar, cartons, empty pallets go here. And you're going to drop off your milk right over here. Okay, so I just happen to have all my products lined up over here. So I have 16 pallets of each. It's not going to take even close to that. You'll see what I mean when we move along, but hopefully he'll be able to up the capacities in a newer version. If not, like I said, you can go into the XML file and fix it yourself. Now, I didn't put that on a very flat piece of land, so just bear with me. We'll drop the milk off first, because that one takes a while to unload. Here and start dropping off the milk. You can see it going down there, and get a digital display over here. 250,000 liters that's going to hold, so we'll just leave that. We'll go over and work on our other products. So it seems the cartons and the pallets will run out first. The salt and sugar is not too bad. You could possibly leave that at 16,000 liters, but definitely the pallets and the cartons will have to be up. They are the first things you'll run out of. So let's go ahead and activate our auto load. Grab our pallets, and you'll see what I mean when I drop these off, because it's only going to take like a stack of these. Drop it from the side. I just prefer in the back. It doesn't matter because it's only going to take like one pallet, but let's drop that off and you'll see how fast it fills up. Boom, it's full. Okay. Let's pick it back up. See, 16,000 liters, and I basically went through 2 stacks of pallets. So yeah, I would up that personally. So for now, I'm just going to drop down here, go over, grab the rest of our product, go with our cartons next. That it takes a while to get the milk in there. 250,000 liters. Let's drop some of them in there. Fill them. See, that's full now. Put 2 pallets of that as well. Over and get some salt. Now a couple of things here. If you're wondering about sell points, they're built into the map. We'll go over and take a look at that right now. Go over to the price list. Just come on over here to see the dairy products. We got our butter, ice cream, and cheese right there. And you can see that they can be sold with the sell spots that are already on the map. So that is really good. I like that you can put that right into the map. That way you don't have to worry about putting down sell spots. Salt and the sugar seem to be alright. You don't really need to change the capacity of that. It's more the cartons and the pallets. He has to be filled right now. Yes. Oh, I ran out. Okay, that's close enough. It's full. See? Didn't even go through a whole pallet of that. Okay, so just where sugar remains. Over here and pick it up. I like the different colors on the bags there. So all the factories can make your sugar, pallets, cardboard, salt. I reviewed all of them. There's the 3 of them over there. Okay, that's filled. Go ahead, this guy off for production. So to open your global company, if you're away from the building, you can do it anywhere on the map as long as you're not in the vehicle. Press left control and G. That'll bring up your global company. Go ahead and find your dairy, click on that, click on open overview screen, click on dairy production, and there's all your inputs and outputs. Which is the milk that is quite full. So there is your 3 outputs. Okay, so let's do a time lapse here. We want our product to be moved. There's our butter down below. Very loud factory. That is butter. Over here we have our ice cream. Very nice packaging on that. So yeah, they're 4,000 liters a pallet. And here's our cheese wheels. Looks fantastic. I love it. So don't forget, you can sell that on the map. Just go to your price list and see where you get the most bang for your buck. Okay, so I'm going to slow down time because we already ran out of product, I can tell right now. So like I said, you can tell if these factories are running from a distance because usually smoke's coming from them. Here's what I mean. Empty pallets and cartons are gone. So you might want to up the capacity of them because you're going to be filling that constantly. The milk is fine, the salt is fine, the sugar's fine. That's only goes down to half. So you can grab half and half. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You don't pick them all up. And some of them too. Oh look, that was like perfect. Nice. Okay. Let's go drop them off. I don't know how that's going to work. It might not be able to detect the pallets up top. We'll see. No, it's working. Yeah, it's because I got a mixed thing here. But that's okay. It's almost filled now. There, it's filled now. Okay. Let's grab them and get them out of there. I don't know if you could just leave that product there and it would take it after a while, but I wouldn't count on it. The production has started up again. Super fast forward. Building here. Watch the product. Stacks. Looks like you're going to get 10 pallets of each. 40,000 liters it should stop at. Right there, and right there. Okay, let's slow down time here. Okay, let's pick up some of our product and we'll go sell it. Load. Grab the butter water first. Not a full load, but that's okay. Oh, look how they're sitting on there. Never noticed that before, because they're not double stacked, but not a problem. Okay, over at the Pioneer. Let's see what we got. 10 pallets of butter. $171, not bad. Okay, let's grab our cheese wheels. We're off we go. $55,273 for that. Go back and get our last product, ice cream. There we go. Production has started up again. We got all kinds of ice cream coming up. Price for that, $50,768. So there you go, folks. That was the Dairy Factory by the Snake. The file size for that was 35.2 megabytes. Additional information and links can be found down below in the description, guys. Thank you so much for watching today's review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, maybe you can hit the like button down below. And if you're new to the channel, why don't you go ahead and click on Nick right there in the middle of your screen. Then hit the subscribe button and the bell, and I'll bring you new mod reviews every second day and Let's Plays every other day. Plus my Patreon link is just below that if you'd like to help me contribute to the channel. It really helps out. So until next time, take care, and I will see you all in the next one. Hello there everyone, and welcome back for another map mod review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Wild West 16X map by Kaz64. File size for this is 621.4 megabytes. What I'm going to do is explain a few things regarding this map. We'll go over and take a look at the field sizes and prices, the multi-fruit and the sell points. We'll take a look at your starting fleet, and then we'll take a tour of the map. So, let's take a look. Okay folks, once you've loaded up your map for the first time, this will be your starting position right here. Once again, this is the Wild West 16X map by Kaz64. File size for this is 621.4 megabytes. There's 82 fields on this map, 2 of which you own, field 7 and 11. Field sizes and prices we'll go over momentarily. There's 13 different multi-fruits on this map, and there's 15 different sell points. Now, I'm going to go over a few added notes I have tagged on here. Now, clover is the power food for your sheep on this map. You can mow the clover as well, but you won't get a product for it. You have to harvest it, but you can use your mower if you just want to get rid of it. So that is your power food for your sheep. The garages will open when you have a vehicle. When you drive up to them, the bay doors will open, and it won't close again until you pull that vehicle back out. So that's kind of cool. I like that. Number 4, after selling your animal pens, you will have to remove the fences by hand using a chainsaw. That's the only way you can get rid of the fences once you sell the animal pens. There's also 3 forested areas on this map. And Field 17, guys, is the size of a 4X map. Like, try to wrap your head around that. This is a ginormous map. So with that being said, let's go on over and we'll take a look at the PDA. Huge, huge map. So you can see there's a forestry section over here on the right. Forestry sections over here on the left. As far as multi-fruit, we got carrots, we got onions, clover, lettuce, cabbage, red cabbage, millet, rye, spelt, poppy, hops, tobacco, and hemp. Now as far as field sizes and prices, I'll go over the smallest and the biggest field on the map. By the way, there's the 2 fields you own, field 7 and 11. It's right around your farm and all your animals and everything. smallest field on the map, as far as I can see, is field 80, right on in there. And that is 2.85 acres and will cost you $61,280 to purchase. The biggest field on the map is obviously 17 down here. It's a behemoth. So field 17, get this, it's 2,021.58 acres and will cost you $24,636,490. So you're going to have to work for a while to get that. So we also have some jobs over here on the map. We got a tree to start you off here. Get a few animals to get you by. We got 5 cows and 5 chickens. So let's go over and look at the sell points. Like I said, there's 15 to choose from, starting from bale sales all the way down to wood chips. Across, you see all our multi food there. With some different symbols for different things. Very nice. There's all kinds of space on here to put the place of this, guys. Beautiful map. Okay, now we'll go over and take a look at your starting fleet. Over up to the garage. They give you a little bit to start off here. You have a Puma 240 CBX. You have a Fendt 1050, a Case 380 CBX. We get a Fast Track 8330. We have a Tetra Semi. We have a large harvester with a large tipper. We have 2 different headers, one for corn, one for regular grain. We got a cultivator, a couple of seeders, a dry fertilizer spreader or line. We have a couple of mower attachments. We got a tedder, windrower, baler, small tanker for water. Got a front load attachment along with a bucket, a fork, and a bale fork. And then you got these wonderful animal pens over here. So these are modded. Like I said, if you want to remove the fences around them, you got to use a chainsaw. So we got a grain silo over here. We also have these really cool vehicle sheds. I'll show you. He's got his own Victorian farmhouse over here. Farmhouse garage. So, you got a pretty decent starting fleet to start you off. So before we take a tour of the map, we'll just zoom in here and take a look at the immediate area. I'll probably show you all this stuff in here. So let's zoom on in here for a second. You can see we got our pigs, our horse product, our sheep, our cows, our chickens, all are right here. There's our kind of our downtown core with the spinnery and cellular world, the biogas plant. We have a dairy over here, a restaurant, a gas station, Granny supermarket, the ranch over here. Animal dealership is right over here. Let's zoom out a little bit. Wood chip sales over here. There's our 2 forestry sections. Saw logs there too, would imagine. Got our tree nursery over here. Western Port, biomass heating plant, mill station, wood chips, another place to sell. These fields are humongous. So yeah, we got a couple of fields hiding in here, but they're still pretty big fields. We got a forestry section over here as well. There's traffic on this map. We got manure sales. Got a garden center down here. We got a river that cuts through the landscape there. Very nice. And I can't wait to take this on. That's going to be challenge and a half. So yeah, your forestry sections are labeled, plus these really nice spots to put placeables too. Kaz always leaves room for them. So with that being said, we'll begin our tour right around the farm here. There's a beautiful Victorian home. Playground for the kids to play on. I'm not sure if we can go in here. Probably not, but it's still a very nice looking house. Got our chickens next door. Sorry if I'm going too fast, guys. I'll try to slow down our parts, but this being a 16-inch map, it's going to be quite a lot to cover. Yeah, that's very nice. I like how it goes down over the embankment there, too. Cool road that comes down here. There is some garages down below, as well as your silos. Vehicle workshop, that's all I can say. Lots of detail in here. Got a car lift over there, that's cool. Still some fuel. for equipment scattered in here. I'll show you what I mean with the garages here. Pick it up. Put it inside. See ya. You're closed behind me. But I can leave that there, go over here, open that back up, and it'll stay open until I remove that vehicle. I thought that was really clever. It still senses the vehicle in there. So that is pretty cool indeed. Now watch, you'll see it close now. Isn't that cool? I thought that was fantastic. It's such a great eye for detail. Servicer over here with one of your horn headers inside. Got a road that goes down along there. USA. 1974, I was 1 year old. Couple of tractors in there. Get a pretty decent starting fleet. Okay, but that's as far as we're going to take the starting fleet. It'll take an hour to get a custom map to use that, so let's leave that alone for now. I like that back. That seems good there too. Let's get our map up here. And we'll take a look at our animals. It feels like we're crawling around on this map. These map front slides again. So you've got your pigs and your sheep, your horses, cows, all in here. The cows, you got 5 just there. Drop off straw, your bales, water, feed, all that stuff. Got a little pond over here. Scoop up some water. And you know what? The end, Wild West. Yeah, that is super cool. You did a fantastic job. And huge, guys. We usually play our multiplayer maps on a 4X. This is 4 times that. So if this doesn't keep you busy, I don't know what will. So that's the immediate farm. I think we're going to head south here. Just take a look at the downtown core, kind of. We'll just take our time coming along here. Big old rectangular square fields. Customer over here, water tower over there, some residential, do some traffic on the map. Okay, let's come along here. Look at the size of that field, 53.43 acres, huge. Right now we're just going to concentrate on the inner core. Pizzeria. Marines Groceries. There's the ranch right over here. Train up your animals. Check out these nice spots I got laid down for replaceables. Bring all your global company factories over here and set them up. Gas station there. Some residential. By the shop over here. vehicles and sell them. If you don't use the workshop, that is. Gotta buy them here. See my truck going up the road. Cool. Class dealership. Very nice. Huh, that's awesome. All the oil cans over there. Very nice. Okay. So we'll just keep heading south here. Burn to sell some bales. All that stuff. Beautiful map. Come across the bridge here to the spinnery, the animal dealership. Oh, they got these billboards over here. That's cool. All the people that helped. Very nice. Supporters. Okay, animal dealership is right over here. Style for animals. Very cool. Okay, so what we're going to do is keep heading south here and we'll take a look at field 17. Now I'm going to step on the gas here just to speed it up. So I am on ×5 speed and look, I'm still crawling. So that just gives you a hint of what to expect. But I gotta show you this monster field down here. Oh, that's cool. Get that set up. Big old spot for placeables down here on both sides. Look at this field. As far as the eye can see. Massive. Yeah, look. 2021.58 acres. It'll cost you a penny for that. That's your biggest field right on over there. I love it. Look at the size of this massive field covered in wheat. Look at the milk station. It's a mill station. Sorry about that. Kinds of grass that you can mow. That spot right there. That's what we call outing sticks. We'll just keep coming across here. Check out the forestry section on the west coast over here. Up on the first forestry section here. With the river running in through the middle, dividing it up. Lots and lots of trees that we cut. Look at that. It's a big old lush forest. Yeah. And then right across the pond, you got some more. I can't believe I'm on ×5 speed. Fill this up with factories, guys. Good lord. Logs, nice. Place to sell your logs and wood chips. Very nice. Second half of 4th Street. Still a big old spot over on the right hand side of the map as well. high up. Protect it. Is that sugar beets? Clover. Feel the clover there. There's a tree nursery over here. I'd imagine these jobs pay a lot. Contracts. Look at that. $50,000 to harvest that. Take you a while. Any spot for placeables? Got a tree nursery hidden in the woods here. That's cool. Oh, that actually functions. Cool. Seeds, water, more. Seedlings. That is cool. Yeah, that's cool. Finished product. That's cool. I like that. Another fantastic spot for placeables. Like place you can sell more. Or no, that's wood chip, sorry. Another place to sell wood chips and logs. Detail. They did a fantastic job with this. Good Lord. This is a big old map. 16x. Where is he? I can see. Those fields up top are nothing to laugh at either. The size of them. Good Lord, man. Nice spot for placeables here, guys. Set up all kinds there. I love when you put these packets down. All set up for gold company bonds. And finally made our way across the top part of the map. Spot there for placeables as well. Here's our class forestry section. This one's a little longer. Come in and look at these tiny little fields. Here's the smallest fields. Little baby is the smallest one. 285 acres. Still good sized fields. Just tiny on the map. The North Sails coming up here. Sell some slurry. Check out the garden center and get along the coast. Center. We buy your fertilizer, seeds, and herbicide, pig food, compost, lime, all kinds of stuff you can sell there, guys. That's nice. Nice big old brick going across there. I thought that was a limo. My limo has arrived. Oh, we get the water effects too good. Here again. This is a great map to pull over your beefy equipment. Put it to the test. Fantastic job. This just looks great too. here. Top storage, all liquid storage. Milk, water, diesel, liquid manure, digestate, herbicide, and liquid fertilizer. Very nice. Back to the farm here. So another fantastic map by Kaz64. Did a really good job on this. So there you have it, folks. That was the Wild West 16X map by Kaz64. The file size for that was 621.4 megabytes. Additional information and links can be found down below in the description, guys. Thank you so much for watching today's review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, maybe hit the like button down below, and if you're new to the channel, why don't you go ahead and click on Nick right there in the middle of your screen, then hit the subscribe button and the bell, and I'll bring you new mod reviews every second day, and Let's Plays every other day. Plus my Patreon link is just below that if you'd like to help contribute to the channel. It really helps out. So, until next time, take care, and I will see you guys all in the next one.
Now run.
Hello everybody and welcome back for our all new start, part 1 of our Don Diego 4X Multi-Fruit Map Lab multiplayer competition. And let's bring in the crew. We got quite the crew now. Mark, Dragon, Dean, Michael B, Jason, Papa, Dixie, George, and myself.
Hello.
Howdy.
And let the games begin. Okay, let's get on over and I will get some gameplay up on the screen for you guys.
Mark, you're in a green shirt.
Okay.
Evidence the bid.
Fix it like next time.
So look at all these players. So yeah, we got 4 teams, 2 players on each team. On Team Blue, we got Papa and Mark. Team Green, we got Dragon and Dean. Team Red, Dixie and Jason. And Team Purple, George and Michael. And we're all going to go to work as soon as I get a half hour on the clock here, guys. So what is going to happen, we're going to go for 2 hours and 10 minutes today. And I am a floater. And that means I am the odd person out. So I'm going to do a half hour each on each farm. That way everything's even right across the board. So you're going to see me jumping from team to team every half hour. An hour into it, we're going to stop for a short 10-minute break. So Robert can fill his tankard and we can all bathroom breaks, all that stuff. Some people want to talk to their teammate, come up with a strategy, all that stuff. So guys, I'm going to explain the rules right quick here. So no hired workers unless you're going solo, but that's not going to happen now because we have a floater. And I will just go on that team if need be. Time is set to 5 throughout the whole game, even at nighttime. Only 4 factories per team. All fields split evenly. And the fleet is purchased for everybody. So if they want to switch up their gear, not a problem. 2 max of each animal pen. We're going to be going for 15 weeks, guys. And the reason we're restarting, we lost half of the last save game. So now that we have 2 players back and we lost half of that, we're just going to restart. I'm sure you guys are going to be okay with that. We were only basically a half an episode in. So 15 weeks is what we're going for. No placeable sell points. We have to use ones on the map. Forestry, you can cut whatever is in your area. And 2 hours, we'll take a short, yeah, I already said that. Okay guys, so half hour on the clock and go. So I am going over to Team Purple to start and they're going to put me to work. So what do you want me doing, Team Purple? You want me to...
You grab the harvester and do field...
I'll jump out. You guys just tell me what to do.
I'd say, Nick, if you want to just start on that one of the fields with that harvester.
Okay, sounds good. So welcome everybody. So glad you can make it today. We got a whole bunch of people here. Beautiful, beautiful. Welcome everybody. So off to work I go.
Hey, Kaz.
Hello, Kaz.
Hey guys.
Love Wild West, man.
Yes. Beautiful map. I'm going to do a review of that really soon, bud. And to let everybody know, yeah, he just made a beautiful 16X map, guys. Check it out. It's beautiful. Runs really good. And for a full rundown, I'm going to do a review of it, so stay tuned for that.
What did you grab, Jason?
Harvester.
Alright.
Field 19 was it.
Yes.
No.
Field 14 scout. We'll put the truck there for you.
Down, header, down. And we're off. Oh, Nick, the heck's on Team Purple for now. Like I said, we'll switch that up. We get straw from this? Yes, sir. I'll leave some straw behind for you.
Yep, that'll be good.
And like I say, guys, I'm going to be bouncing around from team to team, and I told them, don't tell me your strategy, just act as if I'm a hire worker. That way I don't know anything what's going on. Just Mr. Innocent over here farming.
I know
Mr.
that.
Innocent.
I know nothing. The folks from Men in Black, I know nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for joining us today, guys. As we get underway here.
Wow, the lag is real.
Yeah, I get little spikes.
Few sides.
Spikes.
Guess it's people buying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just for the lag.
That hurt. I'm gonna have to move that guy anyway.
Oh, I guess I better get that up there.
I'm just parking his here. Oh, I'll turn it off for them.
No room, Papa. Oh dear. That's stuck on me. Oh, you're stuck on me.
Alright, is he Band-Aid?
You stuck on me, cause I'm stuck on you. Alright.
Y'all hold still for a minute, I'll get these tractors out of y'all's way.
So this is Oats, fellas.
Ah!
Car. You need help?
Nick drives like a hired worker. That's me, Brad.
Beep,
That's a mean.
Try and keep the area clear over here.
Said I gotta start the stream soon. Everybody's picking on me over there.
At least the air harvester here.
Hello, Wayne. Hello, Rebecca, Robert. Anybody I missed, sorry. You're welcome to the stream.
Got tip wrong way, Jason.
Alright.
So everybody's strategizing. You'll notice a lot less talking going on today.
I remember there's no F11 telephone now.
Oh, yeah? And you'll notice we don't have the, what's it called? The mod up in the left-hand corner?
Glance.
The glance.
We don't have the glance mod because we're not allowed to see whatever everybody's doing. Is that would you could definitely take advantage of that. It's like, oh, somebody's running green. What's on sale?
Alright, there you go, Jason.
You definitely want to take advantage of those price lists. Shop around, get the most bang for your buck. Plus, we started with the same amount of money. Team Blue has a little bit less money because they don't have to alter their landscape, and it costs money to do that. So, just a little bit of money if you have to flatten something out or something. But let me show you over here for 1 second, guys. I'll just show you how the map's divided up here. You can see your blue here. You got Team Red down here, Dixie and Jason. Team Purple over here. Michael B. and George. Team Blue up to the north. That is Papa and Mark. And Team Green is Dragon and Dean, Neil, all that. So yeah, everybody's divided up perfectly around the map. Like I said, we're going to have some factories on the map as well. But we're limited to 4. But that doesn't include, like, if it's not a factory, that doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, you can have a wood chipper or stuff like that. But if it makes product, like finished product, that's a factory.
No.
Everybody felt that, I take it?
Yeah, I almost ran into the...
Fingers crossed, guys, that everything goes smoothly. I'll periodically go on over and save the game. just in case.
Pop description's off, right?
It should be.
Oops, sorry, because of the lag, I accidentally cut the corner of the steel.
Yeah, no, they have.
So the only thing that's on basically is periodic plowing, spread line. I think he's having problems with his push to talk. Oh, never mind. Everybody has the exact same starting fleet, and they can sell it if they want, upgrade it, whatever they want to do. So I'm going to do a half hour on Team Purple, and just move across, half hour on each team. Do a short 10-minute break after an hour, guys. Got somebody over here picked up Shrug.
Yep, me.
Nice. It's only, I keep saying it, but when I activate my flying, it gets rid of the names above everybody's head. They gotta fix that.
Yeah.
17, that wasn't even a problem. Like, I don't like that. I don't like that. You get a whole extra year to work on it too. Hello, Amy 8 Spin.
Working fine for me, Mike. Try it again.
It's not a factory map, but we're adding factories to it.
Yeah, well, there are factors on the map there, aren't there?
Yeah, there is, but we're not using them.
No, we're not using it, but there are if you want to use it.
Yeah, sorry about that. That's right. There is a few factories built into the map, but nobody's allowed to use them. You just gotta buy from the principal factories. Oh yeah, this is an awesome multiplayer map. 4X, multi-fruit. Big old square fields, rectangular fields. What's the name of Kaz's new map again?
Wild West.
Wild West. Yeah, it's over on Mod Hub, guys. If you want to check that out, it's awesome. It's a really nice map. I'm going to do a full review on it, but if you want to pick it up now, come on over and do so.
Yeah, so 17 due to 2,000 acres.
2000.
Wow. It was, one field is the size of a 4X. Isn't it?
So I saw 17 in the bottom.
And there's a few tricks, like, I was watching somebody's video there, and, if you want to feed the sheep, power food, you've got to feed them clover. And some of these garages, the doors will open automatically when you go over there with the vehicle. Yeah, it's really nice, guys, really nice.
What time is this dang thing?
The only thing that I found so far, and that's what Gene mentioned, I think, on Facebook, is you can't turn traffic off.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I said that to talk earlier.
Yeah. No, that's good, guys. Anything like that, yeah. You need to appreciate that. Because, stuff like that might get by them or whatever. But, yeah.
The map is on Papa's website, too.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
There.
And the link from my website down in the description.
There you go, guys. Yeah, awesome job, guys. Very nice map. You want a challenge? Yeah, download that.
George,
Mm-hmm.
you want to fix your mic and turn noise in the background?
Yep.
Now the challenge is take on a 16x map by yourself and use that harvester that Papa was showing earlier on our street. What is that? He's dragging along with a tractor.
Yeah, it's one of those that kind of runs off to the side.
Yeah. Oh my god.
It's like 2.0. It's a 3-meter mobile line John Deere harvester.
So basically, one step above having a mule.
Yeah.
Pretty much. 1,500-liter capacity.
Oh my god.
I'd have my hair ripped out of my skull.
Dave, what do you think about that?
No, I couldn't handle that. Bring on the power equipment.
I think that 100-meter header's too small.
So, the 3 meters just isn't going to work for you.
No.
I used to manage my team with spreadsheets. It was a nightmare. And then we switched to Monday.com.
Hello, I'm Simon Whistler. You're watching Top 10's Net, and in the video today, the top 10 surprising secrets about air travel. Flying has become an increasingly common way to travel, with more than 37 million commercial flights flown in 2017 alone. However, even if you're a frequent flyer, there may still be some things that you don't know. In the video today, we're looking at 10 surprising facts about air travel that may be new to you, or at least fresher than the blankets on your next flight. Number 10. The tiny hole at the bottom of your window is keeping you safe. When you're stuck in an aluminium tube for hours at a time, staring out of the window at the clouds might provide a welcome diversion from the cramped seats, crappy food, and unruly fellow passengers that you might encounter as part of your in-flight experience. And when you look out of that window, you may have noticed something strange about the window itself, the pin-sized hole near the bottom. That tiny hole is called a bleed hole, or a breather hole, and it is therefore a very good reason. As your plane makes its way up to cruising altitude, the air pressure drops. The plane's pressurization system keeps the air pressure much higher in the plane than in the surrounding air, ensuring that oxygen levels remain high enough for the people on the plane to, well, survive. But each window is made up of 3 panes of glass to keep passengers safe. The innermost layer is mainly to keep the other 2 safe from the passengers. The middle pane is the one with the tiny hole, which ensures that the outermost pane is the one to bear the pressure, and that is the one that would break if the pressure became too much. Now, if anything happened to the outermost pane, the middle pane would be able to take over, handling the pressure differential without compromising the passenger cabin. The bleed hole also serves to manage the temperature differential between the cabin and the surrounding air, keeping the windows mostly clear of fogging and frost. Number 9. Airplane bathrooms can be unlocked from the outside. Airplane lavatories have improved from their early incarnations, some of which just released waste directly into the air. Nonetheless, most people wouldn't describe them as pleasant or seek to spend any unnecessary time in them. In recent years, aircraft bathrooms have become even more cramped as airlines seek to maximize the number of seats that they can squeeze on board, making visiting the lavatory an even more claustrophobic experience for passengers. Those rare few who still can't get enough of the aircraft lavatory should be aware of one fact, and that's that it is possible to unlock the lavatory door from the outside. The mechanism for doing so varies from plane to plane. In some versions of the Airbus A380, for example, one must simply lift the lavatory sign and slide the knob over to unlock the door. While this might seem like a great way to prank a friend or a helpful trick for dealing with a misbehaving child, a Virgin America attendant says that this technique is often used in reverse, to lock the door of an empty bathroom shut during turbulence, further noting that unlocking an occupied bathroom would only be done to ensure passenger safety.
Go get a plastic surgeon. Go get a chiropractor. Go get a dentist. Go get a gym. Go get these type of clients, says every guru to any gullible newbie who will listen. My name is Dan Wardrope, and I run a lead generation agency out of the southeast of England. So rewind 3 or 4 years, I was doing the same thing, okay? I was buying all these courses, spending a fortune on my education. I was chasing real estate agents.
Number 8. Hot beverages are best avoided when you're in the air. While a cup of coffee or tea may seem like the perfect way to wake up after a red-eye flight, you might be better off waiting until you're inside the airport to enjoy a hot beverage. Not only will the diuretic effect of coffee and tea mean you have to go to the bathroom a little more often, but the water used in your drink may be pretty darn gross. After an EPA study in 2004 showed 15% of water samples taken from more than 300 planes had coliform bacteria, new standards were introduced to ensure airlines cleaned and tested their water tanks for bacteria. However, the water systems on some planes are only cleaned and tested once a year. EPA data from 2012 shows that 12% of commercial planes still had at least one positive test for coliform bacteria. Now, this sort of bacteria is not going to make most people sick, but it does show that planes do not exactly have the cleanest water source, and that more dangerous bacteria, such as E. coli, could potentially exist in that environment. While US carriers serve bottled water to passengers, water from the plane system is still used to make tea, coffee, and hot cocoa. Generally, this water doesn't get heated to the temperatures needed to kill all bacteria. The danger, it is likely very small, but it is enough to keep some flight attendants from drinking coffee and tea on board a plane, and maybe enough that you'd rather get your caffeine fix from soda or wait until you're in the terminal to grab a cup of coffee or tea. Number 7. There's a reason why airplane bathrooms still have ashtrays, even though smoking is banned. You may have noticed an odd feature in the airplane lavatory, an ashtray on the back of the door. Confusingly, it's often located right under the sign that reminds you that smoking is prohibited. Now, on most domestic US flights, smoking has been prohibited since 1990, and it's been outlawed on flights between the US and foreign destinations since 2000. But ashtrays can still be found on board even brand new planes. So, why is this? Well, in the US, bathroom ashtrays are there because the FAA mandates that they have to be. While initially this might seem like another nonsensical law, there's actually a pretty obvious reason why it makes sense to keep the ashtrays, and that's that not everyone obeys the law about smoking on planes. On a flight from Portland to Sacramento, one woman who claimed she needed to smoke to deal with anxiety became so violent after a flight attendant stopped her from smoking in the bathroom that she had to be restrained by passengers and crew until the plane could make an emergency landing. Given the fact that there are some people who are going to try and sneak in a cigarette, no matter what the law says, no matter what kind of hefty fines they might be facing, it does make sense to have a place where cigarettes can be put out safely and not simply tossed in a trash bin full of flammable paper towels. The legally mandated presence of ashtrays on planes has its roots in the tragic case of Varig Flight 820 in 1973. An onboard fire, quite possibly started by a cigarette in a lavatory trash bin, killed most people on board via smoke inhalation before the plane could make an emergency landing. This prompted the FAA to ensure that all commercial aircraft were equipped with ashtrays going forward. Number 6. Some planes have teeny tiny bedrooms for the crew. On long-haul flights, those over 10.5 hours, you may have noticed that the crew members serving you rotate during the course of a flight. At some flights clocking in at close to 18 hours, it makes sense that more than one crew of pilots and flight attendants would be needed to staff the plane, rotating work and rest. But where does the crew go when they are resting? While they all have seats in the main cabin for takeoff and landing, you don't see the crew snoozing in them during the course of the flight. That's because planes that fly these long-haul flights are equipped with special little bedrooms for the pilots and flight attendants. Usually the pilots and flight attendants sleep in different quarters because of their different schedules. These sleeping cabins are either above or below the main passenger cabin and are accessible by little staircases or in some cases via an overhead storage bin. Configurations vary based on the airplane, but generally include single beds and an overhead light for reading. A KLM flight attendant reports that KLM crew beds come equipped with a set of mandatory KLM PJs so that the crew is recognizable if they are called into service during an emergency. Number 5. Occasionally a plane lands with more passengers on board than appeared on the original manifest. This one isn't as cryptic as it sounds. Pregnant passengers are generally permitted to fly up until their 36th week of pregnancy, though some carriers will require a note from a doctor or midwife after 28 weeks. However, as many mums will attest, due dates aren't always accurate. Some babies make their entrance much earlier than expected, and occasionally these surprise preterm births happen at 36,000 feet. When babies are born on international flights, determining citizenship can be quite a tricky matter. Usually the child will be accorded the citizenship of one or both of its parents. Some countries, including the US, will grant citizenship to a baby that is born within national airspace. Additionally, 70 countries have ratified or acceded to the UN Convention on the Reduction of Statelessness, which says that a baby born on an aircraft is entitled to citizenship in the country where the plane is registered, but only if that baby would have otherwise been stateless. Perhaps out of gratitude for the positive news coverage they bring to air carriers, some, though not all, babies born in flight have received perks from the airline where they made their debuts. This has included things like scholarships and even free flights. Number 4. Flight crews just want to get the door closed and the plane pushed back as fast as possible, even if they know there'll be a tarmac delay. We know that everyone wants to get the plane in the air as fast as possible. Well, except for that one guy casually blocking the aisle with a full-size suitcase he insists will fit in the overhead bin. But the pilots and flight attendants, they are motivated not just by the desire to depart and land on time, for which they may receive some bonus pay, but also by the fact that on many airlines the crew isn't paid until the plane door is closed and the parking brake of the plane is disengaged. Flight crews may receive some pay for long delays at the gate, but the pay gets much better when the plane pushes back. While some airlines only pay the flight crew for the time they are actually in the air, most pay them once they leave the gate. While most pilots and flight attendants want to avoid delays altogether, if there's going to be a delay, they'd much rather be on the tarmac where they get full pay versus at the gate where they get minimal or no pay whatsoever. Number 3. Pilots have secret distress signals, though sometimes they mess them up. Pilots have ways to communicate, both verbally and non-verbally, that their plane is in distress. Obviously, we don't know all the current ways that pilots signal problems on board to outside observers, but we do know what's been used in the past. In the air, depending on the nature of the emergency, pilots are trained to set their transponder code, or squawk in pilot lingo, to a number corresponding to their situation in order to alert air traffic control. Squawking 7500 signals hijacking, 7600 stands for loss of communication, and 7700 is a general emergency signal. Additionally, for a hijacking, a pilot would add the word trip following the aircraft designator, for example, United Trip 319, when communicating with air traffic controllers as an indicator that he or she was unable to communicate freely, likely due to monitoring by the hijackers. In 2011, on a flight from Chicago to Frankfurt, a United pilot spilled coffee on the communications equipment, resulting in an accidental squawk code of 7500. The plane's crew was able to confirm with officials on the ground about the communications error, though the plane was still diverted to Canada because of the issue. Another Another in-air distress signal involves the plane flying repeatedly in a triangular pattern, a maneuver that indicates to radar stations that the plane is unable to establish radio contact. In the past, the plane's wing flaps have been used to communicate distress signals on the ground. If the wing flaps were lowered while the plane was still on the ground, or full flaps were left down after landing, this signaled a request for immobilization of the aircraft and armed intervention. In 1986, a pilot inadvertently triggered a response by a SWAT team by taxiing for takeoff with the aircraft's wing flaps down. While some of these techniques have been rendered less necessary by the fortified cockpit doors that became standard after the 9/11 attacks, there are still situations where these and other distress signals can provide necessary information about the plane's situation, which will allow those on the ground to formulate a proper emergency response. Number 2. Pilots and co-pilots can't eat the same meal. Fish or chicken? This question may be a vestige of the past on most domestic flights, but many international carriers still offer passengers a choice of entree for long-haul flights. For the pilot and co-pilot though, the answer is pretty much set. They'll eat a different entree each. The reason for this is pretty obvious. Eating different meals reduces the chance that both pilots will be incapacitated by food poisoning during the course of the flight. Now, this rule is not actually a law, but it is a policy of many airlines. A China Eastern pilot reports that generally the pilot takes a first-class meal and the co-pilot takes one from business class. Lufthansa also confirms that it has an unwritten rule that pilots and co-pilots should avoid eating the same thing before the flight for the same reasons. Not every airline has this rule, though many pilots still choose to follow it out of common sense, and even when pilots avoid the same meals, it is absolutely not foolproof. In 1982, 10 crew members, including the pilot, co-pilot, and the flight engineer, became sick on a flight from Lisbon to Boston. Luckily, the plane was less than an hour from its destination, and it was able to land safely. The crew had eaten different meals, but were sickened by the same dessert, tapioca pudding. Number 1. Your best chance for a free upgrade was to die mid-flight. There are many purported tricks for scoring a free seat in first class, but unless you are an elite frequent flyer or pay for an upgrade with money or miles, your chances of moving up from economy to first class are remote. There is one exception though, but not one that many of us would be willing to pursue. If you die mid-flight, your body is likely to get a post-mortem upgrade. Airline protocol means that technically very few people ever die on a flight, since death must be declared by a doctor to be officially recorded. However, when it's clear to all on board that a passenger has passed away, airline personnel are trained to move the body to a relatively private location. This could mean an empty row of seats, but these can be hard to find on a crowded flight. The first class cabin generally has more empty seats and offers more room to maneuver the deceased. So that's where the bodies are often moved, and they're usually covered by a blanket to avoid traumatizing the other passengers. Previous solutions relied on deception. One British airline attendant recalls that many years ago, dead passengers were propped up with a drink, eye shades, and a newspaper in the hopes that other travelers would assume they were just sleeping. Singapore Airlines used to have a so-called corpse cupboard on the A340s that it used for long-haul flights, though when the planes were taken out of service, the company noted the compartments had never been called into action. There is one place you won't end up if you die on a plane though, and that would be the bathroom. This is because rigor mortis would make it hard to get the deceased out of the bathroom. Therefore, flight attendants are discouraged from moving dead passengers to the lavatory. So I really hope you enjoyed that video. Do not forget to subscribe to this channel for brand new videos every day of the week. Also, I've got a podcast. It's called Brain Food, and it's got educational, entertaining content just like this. It's a bit longer form and goes into a lot of depth on a specific subject, getting into all of the fascinating little details. You can check it out through the link in the description below, or just search your favorite podcast app for Brain Food. And if you like this YouTube channel, you are sure to love that podcast. But if you want to watch something else right now, why not check out a related video from the Top 10's archives over there on the right. And as always, thank you for watching.
Want to sell online? Go to Wix.com today and do it like this guy.
Oh my god!
This is Ask Pizza. He's a 21-year-old designer who created his online store with Wix. He sold 4,000 items in just 24 hours. What? 4,000 items in just 24 hours. Go to Wix.com to create your online store. Let me show you how.
With Wix stores, you can showcase the products you want to sell and get paid online. Keep track of your inventory and manage your store with useful insights from your dashboard. Wix Chat lets you communicate on the go, and it's a great way to build customer relationships. You'll always be ready to catch leads and close sales. To grow your brand and stay ahead of the competition, Wix gives you a personalized, easy-to-follow SEO plan to get you found online. Use these and hundreds more features and apps to bring your vision to life. Go to Wix.com to create your professional website today.
So I saw in your profile that you like to cook.
Oh, I love it. This is my specialty.
Ooh, thanks.
Oh, you ate it already.
I was really hungry.
Want some more?
No, thank you. Ugh, I'm starving. Time for some real food. Coupon code. What are these weird websites? Are any of these codes gonna work? Coupon Love Swap? Oh, here we go. Totally trustworthy coupon codes at alwayswork.com. I'm so over this. Is this for real? It automatically finds and applies the best promo codes? That's what I'm talking about. Hello?
Hello, I'm Simon Whistler. You're watching Top 10's Net, and in the video today, the top 10 things to know that might one day save your life. Even though we no longer live in the dark ages and life is more easily predictable than ever, things can still go bad at a moment's notice. And it's always a great idea to know what to do in these kind of situations so that you can actually increase your chances of survival. As anyone can tell you, there are countless ways in which a person's life can be put in danger. And in the video today, we're looking at 10 examples of what you can do if you are faced with them. Number 10. Stop panicking. As any survival specialist can tell you, the leading cause of death in almost every emergency situation is panic. We can't talk about any survival skills without first addressing crippling panic and how to avoid it. The moment someone realizes things are no longer in their control, most start experiencing fear. And there is absolutely no shame in that, because fear is, in and of itself, a survival tool. It gives us a surge of adrenaline, which in turn improves our reflexes and our memory, among other things. The key thing here is to manage that fear and not let it run out of control and turn into panic. Panicking will make us lose all self-control and will stop us from properly assessing a situation, and it will always leave us worse off than we started. But it's one thing to talk about panic in the safety of our own homes, but it's totally another when it hits us in the face like a 5-pound brick. So the first step in avoiding a panic attack is knowledge. Actually knowing what to do in any given circumstance will raise the point at which you feel like things are no longer in your control. By simply knowing what will happen and what steps need to be taken, we are still somewhat in charge of the situation, even if things aren't going as originally planned. The next step is experience, because as all of us know, experience is the best teacher. We don't, of course, encourage you to place yourself willingly in a survive or die situation just for the sake of experience, but we do encourage you to imagine yourself in one. By taking a moment to visualize a worst-case scenario in your mind and what steps need to be taken, you are forming a basis from which you can draw if a situation calls for it. The more you do this mental exercise, the faster you'll be able to draw on it when the time comes. Lastly, by doing adrenaline-inducing activities, basically anything that gets us out of our comfort zone, our brains release an amino acid that acts as a natural tranquilizer that controls our anxiety levels, our appetite, and the worst effects of adrenaline. The more we do these types of activities on a regular basis, the more of this amino acid our brain releases, and the less likely we are to experience panic. But if you do find yourself in a panic situation, remember to stop. Sit, think, observe, and plan. If time is on your side, sit down and look at your gear. Examine each object you have with you in detail and think how it can be useful in your situation. By putting things in order, you calm yourself down and begin forming a basis of security on which you can then build. Number 9. Shelter, water, fire, food. In that order. Let's say that you go on a hike one day, you pack light, and you expect to be back home in time for dinner. While it's unlikely you might get lost, maybe it's misty, maybe it rains, something to push you off course. But what do you do then? Well, you can call or text someone and tell them where you are if you have a signal, battery, or even a phone with you in the first place. And just as a side note here, you absolutely should. Then you can check the GPS unit and try to find your way back. Again, this relies on you having one. You can also hope that the person you told where you were going will call search and rescue. And again, this is great advice. If you are going hiking, do tell someone where you are going and when you expect to be back. But let's say that none of these existing options are viable and you have to face the facts that you'll not be sleeping in your bed that night. It could indeed be days before you find your way back, so you have to remember the basics. Shelter, water, fire, food, in that order. The most dangerous thing in the wild is exposure, and you have to address that first. A makeshift shelter could mean the difference between life and death in these kind of situations, and it should be your top priority. You should always remember to stay dry, especially after nightfall, so if you're working hard in your shelter and sweating heavily, or you are caught in the rain, remember to take off your clothes and dry them out in the sun before it gets dark. Next on the list is drinkable water. Surprisingly enough, most water sources, especially in the wilderness, are actually safe to drink. As long as it's not a stagnant pool of water and you're upstream from large mammal populations, you'll most likely be safe. Basically, the smaller the stream, the safer it is. Moreover, most waterborne illnesses take a few days to a few weeks before they start affecting you, and you should use that time to focus on how to get back home rather than how to purify your water. Next comes fire. As a general rule, you should always carry a lighter and waterproof matches with you every time you go on a hike. Fire can keep you warm, it can keep you dry, and it can also help to fend off animals. An additional benefit is that it will also signal your location and lift your spirits. But it is in the third spot here for a reason. Despite its many advantages, depending on the situation and the weather, fire might not be that important to you. So instead of trying to light one by rubbing two sticks together like you saw on YouTube, you should focus on building a shelter and staying dry. When it comes to food, you should remember that a person can go several weeks before actually dying of starvation. Hunting would be a good idea, but if you haven't done it before, you might just end up losing precious hours of calories and not catch anything. So indeed, it is a good idea that you familiarize yourself with some edible plants before you go out and get yourself in this kind of situation. If neither of those things work out, you can try eating some insects or just plain old-fashioned fasting. And speaking of edible plants, number 8.
Go get a plastic surgeon. Go get a chiropractor. Go get a dentist. Go get a gym. Go get these type of clients, says every guru to any gullible newbie who will listen. My name is Dan Wardrope, and I run a lead generation agency out of the southeast of England. So rewind 3 or 4 years, I was doing the same thing, okay? I was buying all these courses, spending a fortune on my education. I was chasing real estate agents. I had a plastic surgeon as a client. I had a car dealer. And we were managing all of their advertising accounts and running Facebook ads and Google AdWords ads to these clients for a monthly retainer. The problem was that I was forever on the search for new clients. And when I landed those clients, the old clients started getting less and less of my time. And eventually they left, and it was like a revolving door at Flex Digital. No matter how many new clients I got, there was too high a churn rate, and my agency was not growing. I was hiring more people, trying to land more clients, but in reality, I was earning less than I did when I was by myself, working out of my bedroom when I had a 9-to-5 job. And that's a scary thought. When I eventually left my 9-to-5 and started hiring people and having an office and all that kind of stuff, I started doing conversion rate optimization, SEO, website design. I thought the smart thing to do was offer more services rather than specializing in one thing. And that was a mistake. Because in reality, no matter how many clients I got, how many different services I offered, I was never earning more than about $33 an hour. I actually did the maths. The retainer model is broken. It just does not work anymore. It's impossible to scale. But today, we're entering our 3rd year as a multi-7-figure lead generation agency. And we've developed a system that allows you to move away from working with low-value local businesses to landing the national type clients that have 5, 6, or maybe even 7-figure advertising budgets per year. In 2018, we delivered well over 500,000 leads to our clients, and we spent multiple millions on the Facebook and Google AdWords advertising platform. And when you spend this amount of money, you get extremely good at traffic and conversion. So good, in fact, that people have stood up and listened to what we're doing. They've noticed us. Have a look at some testimonials from Mike Rhodes and Keith Krantz, two guys that wrote the book on Google advertising and Facebook advertising.
Hey, what's up? This is Keith Krantz, founder of Dominate Web Media, author of Ultimate Guide to Facebook Advertising, and host of Perpetual Traffic. I want to make this video about Dan Wardrobe. And what blew me away about Dan was just really the system that he put together to manage ads in a super simple way, but yet be able to scale super profitably, which is absolutely critical.
The universal edibility test. If all else fails, there is a way to tell which plants are good to eat and which are not, to a certain degree. Known as the universal edibility test, this is a technique that will help you do just that, but you should know that this is a last resort measure and you should only try and attempt it if you are facing severe starvation. You should also know that this test takes up to 16 hours to complete, and even in the best of circumstances, you might end up suffering from diarrhea or an upset stomach. Moreover, eating wild plants won't give you much nutrition, and even if a plant passes this test, it can still have some traces of poison that can build up in your system if you eat too much of it. The first step is to look for an abundant plant in your area. Since these won't give you so many nutrients, there should at least be enough of them around so you won't have to look all over the place for it. Next, make sure they don't have a white umbrella-shaped flower bundle. Poison and water hemlock are both common and extremely poisonous plants that should be avoided at all cost. If it's not flowering season, pull it out from the ground, and if the root looks and smells like a carrot, then it's most likely hemlock. Also avoid plants that have waxy leaves, as well as those that have thorns and hairs anywhere on their bodies. Most of this type of plant are poisonous. Next, look at the plant's sap. If it's white, it's most likely poisonous. You should look for plants with clear sap. If a plant complies with all of the above, then you can start the actual test. Take just a part of the plant, either a leaf or a piece of the stem or its root, and rub it on a small part of your skin. Some plants may have poison stored in just some of its parts, but not others, so if you end up eating it, eat just the part you tested. Wait 20 minutes and check your skin for any reactions whatsoever: reddening, itching, burning, swelling, numbness, or anything else. If that happens, it means the plant is poisonous and you need to start over. If nothing happens, then take another small piece and place it under your tongue and keep it there for another 20 minutes. If you sense any reactions whatsoever, spit it out and start over. If not, eat a spoonful of it and wait 8 hours. If you begin feeling the symptoms of stomach cramps, pains, vomiting, or anything else out of the ordinary, it's no good. If it passes, however, then eat a cupful of it and wait another 8 hours. If everything is fine, the plant is probably safe to eat. But again, we cannot stress enough the risks involved with this test, and we do not recommend it unless there is absolutely no other alternative. Just remember that a human can last several weeks without food, so you're better off hungry than poisoned. Number 7. What if you fell through the ice? Falling through the ice can be an incredibly scary situation. Not only is the water freezing, but you may not be able to find the hole through which you fell in. Nevertheless, you have to keep your wits about you and be ready for what's about to happen. Once you hit the freezing water, your body starts to hyperventilate, and you will begin gasping for air. You need to fight this instinct while submerged. If you can't find the hole through which you fell, look for contrasting colors. From underneath, the hole will appear darker than the surrounding ice. Once you find yourself at the surface, your main purpose is to keep your head above the water until you calm down. The cold water shock you experience the moment you hit the water will last from 1 to 3 minutes, after which your body gets a bit used to the cold. At this point, your goal is to get out of the water as fast as possible. Though hypothermia is a great concern, it's not your most immediate problem. After the cold water shock comes swim failure, and this is what you have to watch out for at this point. After several minutes, your muscles lose all strength and dexterity, and you will be incapacitated. This is why it's important to get out as fast as possible. First, look for the direction you fell in. Since that portion of the ice was able to hold your weight in the first place, it's also your safest bet of getting out again. Grab onto the ice and lift as much of your upper body onto the ice as possible. Then, using your forearms and elbows, drag yourself forward while propelling yourself using your legs. Once outside, do not stand up. Instead, roll away from the hole for at least several feet before standing. Then, if possible, retrace your steps to dry land. Now, once you are here, this is when you need to start to worry about hypothermia. You can head indoors to warm yourself up, but if that's not an option, then you have to look for a shelter that will protect you from the wind. Even some trees or a large rock will do if there isn't anything else available. Here, remove your wet clothes and find some dry replacements. If you can, do some push-ups and other basic exercises to get the blood flowing again. Next, get a fire going and keep your knees to your chest and your legs tight together to conserve heat. If there are other people with you, huddle together to conserve your body heat. Number 6. How to escape a sinking car. A wrong turn, a deer in the road, or a poorly illuminated street can all end with your car in the water. If this happens, there are a few things you should know in order to get out alive. Under usual circumstances, it will take your car 1 to 2 minutes before it actually begins to sink. This is the time to unbuckle your seatbelt, unlock the doors, and open the windows. As long as the keys are in the ignition, your electrical systems will still work. If they are not, then you need to open the door and exit the car that way. This, however, will mean that your car will sink much faster, but it will be the easiest way to get out. If for whatever reason you can't open your windows, try breaking them using your elbow or anything else pointy you have on hand. The prongs from a headrest are actually very useful for doing this. Some cars are equipped with tools that are useful in such an emergency, and you can also find these at a local hardware store. Aim for the center of the window and do not bother with the windshield. Windshields are made to be unbreakable or as close as possible to unbreakable. If you have the time, take off your shoes or baggy clothes, as these will become a hindrance while swimming. If you're unable to open the window or break it, it's also a possibility that the door won't open either. This is because the pressure from the water outside will prevent you from doing so. If this is the case, let the car fill up with water, wait for the water to reach your chin, then take a big breath, open the door, and exit the car head first. Then swim to the surface. When there is enough water in the car, the pressure will equalize and you will be able to open the door. If by any chance the car is upside down or you get disorientated, follow bubbles to the surface. Number 5. How to maybe survive an avalanche. You would need a tremendous amount of luck to come out of an avalanche alive, but it never hurts to increase your chances in any way you can. When you are going to an avalanche-prone region, it's really important to have avalanche survival equipment. This consists of a receiver that transmits your location, a probe that is used to locate others, and a shovel to dig yourself and others out. You should also have a helmet to protect your head, as well as skiers' airbags that will help you stay at the surface of an avalanche. Taking a course on avalanche preparedness is also advised if you frequent avalanche country often. Nevertheless, here are some tips on what to do if you're ever facing one head on. Your first reaction to an avalanche bearing down on you would be to get out of the way. There's a good chance that you are actually causing this avalanche, so if you see fractures beneath your feet, try and jump up to the slope above the fracture. It's really worth the effort. But if an avalanche is coming towards you, don't try to outrun it. Instead, move to the side as fast as possible. Avalanches can travel at more than 200 miles per hour, so even if you're on a snowmobile, you won't outrun it. Make yourself as light as possible by ditching your backpack and anything else that might be slowing you down. Every second counts here. If you are, however, caught by an avalanche, try swimming upstream. The human body is heavier than snow, and you will sink to the bottom if you don't do anything about it. By thrashing around, you can keep as close to the surface and to the side as possible. Here's where that airbag really comes in handy. Try to keep one arm raised above your head and one close to your face when you sense the avalanche slowing down. This will help you figure out where the surface is, and your arm may even wind up poking out of the snow, making it easier for a rescue team to find you. Once you stop moving, and if you find yourself buried alive, try to dig out a pocket in front of your nose and your mouth. This will give you enough room to breathe. This should give you about 30 minutes if you don't panic. It's also important to remember that once the snow settles, it becomes extremely hard. If you're buried deeper than a foot of snow, you won't be able to dig yourself out. You can also get your bearings by spitting. In the chaos of an avalanche, you might end up not knowing which way is up, so if you start spitting, you'll be able to see which way the spit goes, and if possible, wiggle your way in the opposite direction.
So, you need a logo. The obvious choice is going to Fiverr, finding a logo designer in seconds.
But you're not obvious.
You're mysterious.
Me. I'm nonconformist.
You want to try finding a logo designer yourself, without Fiverr.
Because you have time. It's not like you've got a deadline, or a business to run, or an anger management group you need to— Out of my way, Janice!
You'd rather spend your time interviewing 50 graphic designers.
I prefer brand stylists.
Instead of easily finding a top-rated one on Fiverr. Nice. Now show me their portfolio.
Beautiful.
Okay, then. Great bag. Woo! Maybe simplicity just isn't for you. So you'll find yourself in that overpriced boutique
studio that charges triple for the same gig, and think to yourself, well, at least they gave me a tiny branded water bottle, because you know how important it is to keep hydrated. Fiverr lets you set the budget without compromising on quality. The last thing you want are surprises or setbacks. Who's there?
It's your deadline.
Fiverr lets you set the schedule and delivery time to precisely meet your decision.
Deadline.
Great metaphor. You can go now. Oh, and one last thing. Fiverr puts an end to endless paperwork. That's right. No more forms to fill out. But hey, you can probably get a qualified coworker to do that, right?
Mommy, look!
He's an artist, just like his father. Do the obvious and find your logo designer at Fiverr.com.
Number 4. How to escape a riptide. The term riptide isn't the perfect way to describe this phenomenon, and that is why many specialists prefer the term rip current instead. This is because it has nothing to do with the tides per se, and the name can be misleading. Basically what it is a narrow band of water that forms along a shoreline and has the power to drag a swimmer out to sea in a matter of seconds. They usually form when there's a bottleneck created between two sandbars, and the water receding from the shore is funneled through that channel. These riptides can be permanent, or they can be fixed. That means that they can last for days, or several months, or they can just be flash rips, meaning that they can form suddenly and disappear just as fast. In and of themselves, rip currents aren't deadly, but if you panic, if you can't swim, or if you don't know what to do, they can absolutely kill. Riptides will never pull you underwater, so remember that. They will also not take you into the middle of the ocean. They might pull you some distance away from the shore, yes, but sooner or later it will stop. In fact, the water dynamics of a riptide are cyclical, and once you've passed the breaking waves, its power will begin to subside. Eventually, this will bring you back closer to the shore on one of its sides. Now, the most important rule, in case you are caught in one, is not to swim against the current. No matter how good of a swimmer you are, this will only exhaust you, and you might not have the power to come back. This is actually the main reason people are killed by riptides. You should instead let it take you, and once you begin to feel its pull slow down, begin swimming parallel to the shore in order to escape it. If you're not that good of a swimmer, try and keep yourself afloat by lying on your back and signal to someone on land. In many cases, a riptide will bring you back on its own. But the best way to escape one is to recognize it and avoid it in the first place. A break in the incoming wave pattern is the first telltale sign. Riptides also stir up sand and collect floating debris like seaweed, and you should look for a strip of debris moving seawards. Because of the sand, it can also have a different color to the surrounding water. They're usually choppier and foamier too, so look out for that as well. If you feel a strong current pulling at you, try to get out of the water, but only if you can walk back. If you're chest deep, it will be next to impossible to fight it, and you just have to go with the flow. Number 3. How to recognize a heart attack before it happens. Over 2,200 Americans die every day because of heart attacks, making it the leading cause of death in the United States. In fact, 1 in 4 people will die of a heart-related problem, so this is probably the most important entry that you'll find in this video. A heart attack happens when the blood flow to the heart is greatly reduced or completely shut off. Most of the time this happens because of blood clots blocking an artery to the heart. Luckily, however, there are, in some cases, telltale signs of a possible heart attack even a month before it happens. The most common is chest pain or discomfort. Some people describe it as pressure, while others feel it like a burning or pinching sensation. Another sign would be feeling tired for no reason. As the heart has to work harder to get blood around the body, you get fatigued more easily and more often. You will also sleep more or feel the need to take naps during the day. Your legs, ankles and feet can become swollen, and you might also notice a bluish tinge on your lips or extremities. You might also be sweating more than usual. Dizziness or shortness of breath are also a result of your heart struggling. If you notice these signs, contact a doctor. When a heart attack is imminent, you can experience chest pains that radiate or even move around your upper body, along your arms, your shoulders, your upper abdomen, neck, or even your jaw. Heart palpitations are also a strong sign. Vomiting, indigestion, and nausea can accompany a heart attack too. If you're incoherent or can't properly lift your arms, try not to panic and don't attempt to drive yourself to the hospital. Call the emergency services immediately, unlock your door, and take an aspirin. It is better to chew the aspirin because then it will act faster and might give you some extra time before help arrives. In fact, you could take
Hey, how you doing? It's Dan Wardrope here, the creator of the pay-per-lead agency Blueprint. So you're probably thinking, Dan, why?
Hello, I'm Simon Whistler. You're watching Top 10's Net, and in the video today, the top 10 facts about the scary dominance of Amazon. Some people worry about the amount of dominance that Facebook has in our personal lives and the fact that both Google and Facebook don't really seem to care about our privacy. Others worry that Walmart and other corporations have far too much power over our buying choices. However, people may want to put Amazon under a greater microscope, especially after several moves in recent years to enter every consumer space possible and intrude into every aspect of our daily lives. Over the past few years, Amazon's consumer dominance has continued to grow, and at this rate, it seems as if there's almost nothing that's going to stand in its way. Number 10. Bezos bought the Washington Post just for his own personal propaganda reasons. Bezos bought the ailing Washington Post back in 2013 for roughly $250 million and quickly turned the paper's fortunes around. Before long, the Washington Post was doing amazing again, and many people's fears that a man who had no experience in the newspaper business would only make the company fail more were proved to be totally wrong. However, for those who were worried that this was just one more step in Bezos' attempts to conquer and control basically every aspect of our lives, it wasn't long before he started using his newspaper in a more sinister way. He decided to make it a propaganda vehicle to destroy Donald Trump. Now, to be clear, we aren't saying there is anything wrong with criticizing President Trump. Presidents get criticized all the time. I mean, it comes with the territory. However, the reason CNN remains so popular and trusted by comparison, despite the Donald constantly referring to it as fake news, is that despite the human bias that will always exist to some extent, CNN is actually trying to report the news as they see it. On the other hand, Bezos has been perfectly open about directing his paper to do its level best to smear and tear down Trump at every turn. Whatever your opinion of Trump, positive or negative, this should be alarming. The purpose of a newspaper is to report the news, not take down a political enemy, and in the hands of the richest billionaire who is actively working to increase his fortunes, it's downright disturbing to see this sort of behavior. Number 9. Amazon just bought out Whole Foods so Bezos could control retail grocery as well. In Amazon's largest single acquisition yet, which ballooned their employee counts, they paid $14 billion to buy the Whole Foods grocery chain store. Now, at first, this might sound pretty great to potential consumers because they've promised to bring down prices and further integrate it with their own Prime services. But it also has disturbing long-term implications. After dominating the sale of almost all products, what many felt Amazon couldn't control was food. After all, it's hard to control perishables without brick-and-mortar stores. However, now Amazon has a whole mass of brick and mortar stores and a pre-established business all over the country that they can integrate with their online services as they feel necessary. They are able to easily expand into the perishable home delivery service now, since they have physical food stores all over the country that they can get fresh produce from as needed. Despite some worrying about Amazon monopolizing everything, there was no real antitrust fight on this one, and Amazon continues to gobble up more properties. Number 8.
Hi there, I'm Dan Wardrope, pay-per-lead business owner and creator of the Alternative Facebook Agency. And I help struggling agency owners and freelancers who are working with low-value local businesses that don't pay much per month to transition towards selling leads on a cost-per-lead basis and working with national-level clients that like to buy a lot of leads. So are you struggling to charge more than $1,500 to $2,000 per month per client? Are you heavily reliant on one or two whales within your business that are bringing in more than 60% of your revenue? And are you trying to do too much, like web design, SEO, conversion rate optimization, copy, and essentially becoming a master of none? If so, you are not alone. Joel Eckerman is one of our students, and up until 2 months ago, he was exactly the same as what you're experiencing now, okay? He had a successful agency in Minnesota, 6 people, great turnover, very, very good at what he did, but he just could not get his agency over that hump. He'd been stuck there for about 10 years, okay? And the problem was that he was trying to do too much. The usual web design, the usual Google AdWords, Facebook landing pages, copy, etc. And it was a lot of work, and he just could not scale his agency. So after he changed his model to selling leads, he has tripled his profit within 2 months, okay? And he's got a lot more time back because his staff now just have one job, and that is to deliver leads. And that has changed his agency forever. What I've discovered is that growing a 7-figure agency isn't really that difficult as long as you have a proven system to follow. And I've created a multi-7-figure agency, and I've helped over 150 agencies also transition away from retainer contracts to selling leads on a cost per lead basis. And I've put all of this together in what we call the Alternative Facebook Agency. In this program, we will show you how to choose your vertical, a vertical that's going to have the capacity for hundreds, even thousands of leads per day. We'll show you how to land clients in that vertical. We'll show you how to build your funnels. In fact, we'll even give you the templates we use within our own agency. We'll show you how to, we'll show you the fundamentals of Facebook. And then once you've got your leads coming in, how to scale from 20 leads per day to 200 leads per day at the same cost per lead. And we'll also show you how to build lead generation website brands. So you can point traffic to that one website and then distribute the leads to 5 or 6 different clients within that same vertical. And this is an absolute game changer. And today I'm offering a free brainstorming session with me or one of my team. And in that session, we'll be looking at your current situation, where you're at and where you want to go. And we'll come up with a clear plan of action for you to move from what you're doing today and possibly transitioning to the pay-per-lead model, okay? And the reason why we do this is because, you know, out of every dozen or so calls, there's usually 1 or 2 people that want to come on board with our program, free up their time and accelerate the results that they're getting, okay? But this isn't a high-pressured sales environment, okay? You'll be able to take what we teach you in this brainstorming session and apply it to your business or your agency straight away, no obligations. So to book one of these brainstorming sessions, please just click the button below, and there'll be a short survey application that you have to go through so we can help understand your business. And you'll also need to schedule that time in your calendar that syncs with our calendar, okay? We really look forward to speaking to you, and we'll see you on the other side. Click the link below.
Take it from me, user experience is a satisfying, rewarding, and meaningful career. And if you're serious about working in UX, the Professional Diploma in UX Design is the world's only university-accredited online course of its kind, giving you the skills and qualifications you need to build a long-term career. We've partnered with the world's leading tech companies to make sure the course is relevant, up to date, and focused on the skills and knowledge that employers are looking for. The course is underpinned by a university standard, in-depth syllabus, presented to you in a series of bite-sized videos that you can watch in your own time, wherever and whenever it's convenient. It's a genuine education, the type you won't get in a boot camp, but it doesn't mean that we're academics. We're professionals, and we've structured the course to follow the life cycle of an actual UX project. You'll work on real-world case studies, building your experience and a portfolio of work through guided, step-by-step projects. You'll have regular sessions with our team of mentors, and you'll be able to share your experience with a small community of fellow students. You'll learn to think like a UX designer and adopt the mindset that makes them so valuable. You'll have the confidence that comes from a true, deep understanding of the domain. You'll have job-ready skills and a portfolio to prove it, and you'll have a university diploma, a globally recognized qualification. Everything that you need to build a great career in UX.
Amazon employs well over 500,000 people and is growing rapidly. Amazon is one of the biggest single employers in the world and recently increased their employee count after they bought out Whole Foods. They now employ well over 500,000 people, approximately 566,000 at last count. As they continue to grow, they will continue to provide more and more jobs around the world, but their claims to be a job creator are extremely disingenuous. Amazon has put countless brick-and-mortar stores and even online retailers out of business, and all of those related businesses employed people who now need jobs. Amazon isn't really creating jobs, just shifting jobs from one private business to another. This would be nice if Amazon were one of those big corporations which